Stuart from Mr. Cedars Primary History here with the first of our really quick videos to help you break the complex concept of chronology down in some of its composite parts. The aim of these is to help you as a history subject lead or teacher gain a better understanding of what chronology is and actually how we can teach it effectively. Because this is the first video, would love some feedback on the structure of it, the organisation, the way in which I'm presenting the information, so I can improve it going forward. What I'll do is I'll quickly load a PowerPoint slide which will talk us through the first concept, which is sequencing. Here we go. So, let's start with the definition. Sequencing. At its raw form, it's arranging something in a specific order, and sequencing is something that children will encounter in other subjects such as maths. In chronology, it's chronological order, as in the order in which things happen in a time, using time as its scale. What I'm going to do is show you an example of how a sequence may look and vary across school. So let's start with early years. I am absolutely going to acknowledge that in early years these would be far more visual. It would be a pictorial representation of the child's own childhood so far, or a generic childhood. What you'll notice is it is literally a sequence of this, then this, then this, then that, then that. For early years, that's absolutely fine because we're introducing sequential order, we're introducing the concept of time passing. What you'll notice in a second with Key Stage 1 is how we develop this further. So this is something I'd use in Key Stage 1. I envisage this potentially Year 2, spring or summer maybe, but it can be easily adapted. Hopefully you've noticed this has a scale. So instantly we're going beyond just a raw sequence. It's in increments of 10 years. This allows the children to understand the mathematical concept behind the scale. We are counting in tens, which is something they will be used to. All I'll do is I'll just quickly click through it. Her childhood has a duration of time going on for about, I think it's about 19 years. I represent that as a bar to allow me to treat that as more of an overview. And each of the points in this sequence are an arrow on the timeline because it's a singular point, and you'll notice the sequence has different intervals between them. That's a step up from early years. So I'm wanting the teachers here to be modelling the term duration and the varied intervals between events. Am I expecting the children to use it at this stage? Not necessarily, but I'm exposing them to that language. And as the children get better at this, they will start to notice the intervals vary. But at its raw form, event, then event, then event is still a sequence. And then in Key Stage 2, we have here, you can see the scale has changed once again. We've got the British and world history, and I'm just going to give you an example. The narrative of British history that we teach in primary school history is a consistent narrative through to 1066. Therefore, it is a sequence of periods. In Year 3, I would be teaching my children to understand the idea of a period of history. That allows me to reinforce and build this understanding of a narrative. So, consider the example here. What's the earliest period of British history? It's the Stone Age. I might go further and break it into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, but it's the earliest point. It's the start of our sequence of human history. And then we've got the Roman period, which follows on from the Iron Age. You'll notice the overlap. That means there is an interaction between the two groups. The sequence is not consistent. Hopefully you can see how that develops from the Key Stage 1 timeline. The scale is more sophisticated. It's numbered. We've got periods of history instead of the life of a person. But we are still sequencing events and periods and people. So, that's video number 1 done. Sequencing. I am pretty confident that the vast majority of teachers, if not all of them, will be confident on how to sequence things in history. What I'm going to do with these videos is they'll build up progressively and they'll show the more complex, nuanced parts of chronology, which may be new. I made reference to a couple of them today. Intervals, duration, scaling. All of those will be used to using in other contexts, but not necessarily history. So, I'll be back in a little while. I'm aiming for about a week between the videos, with the next one, where we'll look at the concept of why scales are important, and then the week after, we'll look at intervals and duration. Thanks very much.